Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Peter Whittle. Now, you might remember last week we spoke to Alan Miller, who's the head of an organisation called Together. I'm very keen to talk to people at the moment who are trying to organise a response to the increasing worry and danger in which we find ourselves in this country. So I'm delighted today to be joined by Paul Thorpe, who you might already follow. He's got a huge following on YouTube, and he's the man behind an organisation or a group of people called Unite the Kingdom. That's right, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, Uniting the Kingdom.
Uniting the Kingdom. Can you tell us what is that a kind of just a group of sympathisers or what? Or is it actually a formal thing?
It's a formal thing, but it also belongs to the people. It belongs to everyone.
Yeah.
That's our view, that's our opinion, and that's the way we want it to be. There's no real leaders. It's everyone that loves this country and that wants to unite, because we have to unite the kingdom.
Yeah. Now, this has been quite a good week to speak to you, actually, because you've just come up with a pledge, haven't you? Mm-hmm. And this is a sort of you've had a soft launch of it, haven't you? And this will be going to whom and to what?
It will be going out to basically to everyone. We're going to have a national day of action when we officially launch the pledge.
Right.
There are some great plans in place, which I can't go through entirely just yet, but we've got some really good plans to launch the pledge properly, professionally, to the country, to the nation, and the initial response has been absolutely unbelievable.
Really?
There is such a will and a need for this to succeed.
Yeah, I know. I can absolutely understand that. We have started something called NCF Locals, which is around the country, branches and everything. Before we talk further, could you just read us or take us through the pledge? I know it's 5 points, isn't it?
5 very, very basic points. The first one is to stand for freedom, equality under law, real democracy and family. The second one is build a peaceful, prosperous, patriotic society. The third one is reclaim our nation's identity, its Christian traditions, culture and values. 4, give courage and hope to the British people. And 5, to resist tyranny.
Right.
And we think that although Christianity is mentioned in the pledge, and we obviously appreciate and recognise that not everyone in the country who we'd like to unite with may be Christian. I'm not a practising Christian myself, but I'm a cultural Christian.
Yeah.
This is a Christian country. We do have Christian values. That's how most of us were brought up. And we believe that everyone can get behind those peaceful Christian values and live in a peaceful, harmonious society.
I mean, the last pledge there, resisting tyranny, that's something I would have thought maybe wouldn't have been necessary to put on it 10 years or so ago.
Might not have been necessary to put on it 3 months ago.
Exactly.
But since the general election, I think the word tyranny is on everyone's lips. I mean, this country, we're of a very similar age. I think this country has changed beyond our recognition and beyond any realms that we ever thought it would reach. It has become utterly and totally unrecognisable to the country that you and I would have grown up in. Frankly, at my age now, there are things I would prefer to be doing and campaigning politically.
Yeah.
A lot better things I could be doing, but this is a duty now. This is a must. Yeah. This isn't really a choice anymore. It's do or die for our nation.
No, I mean, it's that sense of urgency, which I totally and utterly am with you on that. And it seems...
And that sense of urgency has increased very much recently, I think.
Yeah. You can sort of... It's tangible, isn't it?
Very much so.
The feeling in the air of despondency, it's tangible.
Peter, I've just got off the train at Victoria, jumped in the black cab driver, straight away launches into what is going on in this country.
Yeah.
We're in trouble. I didn't initiate the conversation. He initiated it. Whether he may have recognised me from my channel, I don't think he did. But that's the mood. That's the mood of the nation. Wherever you go, whoever you speak to, Everyone has the same fears, shares the same concerns, mostly surrounding our children and our grandchildren.
Do you, I mean, I know that quite recently as well, on one of your videos, you were talking about the need to sort of reach out to as many people as possible that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise reach out to in, in different circumstances. So essentially, what you're trying to do is build a coalition of people. Is that right? Of different left? Is it left or right? Or
anyone? I mean, my personal saying is anyone who has red, white, and blue in their heart.
Right.
Anyone that loves this country, that wants peace, that wants harmony. I think most people do. I really genuinely feel that most of us that live in this land just want to get on, get our heads down, go and earn a living, do the best for our families, and bring our children up safely. And I think that covers all races, all creeds, all colours, all religions. So everyone is welcome.
Yeah. But I mean, that Christian foundation, that is crucial in the end, isn't it?
It is, very much so. Yeah.
I mean, that's where everything else has come from. Like you, I would call myself a cultural Christian. A lot of people give you flack for that now. They say that you're basically, just, jumping on the back of why didn't you go the whole hog? But you can't just make up belief, But
Exactly.
I do have a very strong sense that something needs to be protected, which I imagine is what you feel.
Absolutely. I mean, we all need an identity. And I didn't even realise I was a cultural Christian until quite recently. Yeah. I've never, ever been into any type of religion. I'm very non-religious, all of my life, really. But then I was having a conversation with someone that knows a lot more than I do, and I was telling them about my beliefs and my wish for everyone to unite and for a peaceful United Kingdom, and about my cultural Christianity. And he said, actually, Paul, you're more of a Christian than you actually believe. You actually realise yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of your tolerance, because of your willingness for everyone to live together in harmony, under British law, British rules, without outside influence. The land that our forefathers, my own grandfather, fought for and gave limbs for. That's the way that we were brought up, and that's the way that I think this country should remain, and the only way for this country to ultimately go forward and succeed.
When did you feel, you've been doing the YouTube channel for some time, haven't you? But it wasn't, from what I can gather, the same sort of theme as it is now. What was it before?
Well, I was a luxury watch dealer for almost 40 years. Mm-hmm. I spent time working for Mohamed Al Fayed at Harrods when he owned Fulham Football Club. But about 6 or 8 months ago, I'm looking around the world. My grandchildren are coming home with stories that I really weren't happy with. And I've been holding this in for a long time for business reasons.
Yeah.
You understand what it's like. The moment you start talking about politics, religion, whatever, you start to get problems. And I knew that the moment I opened my mouth that my earning capacity, my business career would pretty much be over. Yeah. Yeah. And that is the way that it's turned out. But I don't regret it for a moment, because the battle that we're fighting right now is far more important than any one person's need to earn money. We all need to earn money. Mm. But I've been quite lucky. I've worked very hard. I can look after my family. And I feel now that it's every man and woman's duty, if they can, step forward. Yeah. They must step forward now. This is our time.
Tell me, there's something that is preoccupying me a lot at the moment. I'd like to know what you think about it. And that is that, if you are doing what I'm doing here, what you do, and presumably a lot of your friends and things, you can be assured that people are pretty as much as passionate as you are. What worries me is how indifferent the majority of people are or not. How much they even know actually what the issues are. To me, some things are obvious. I'm sure some things are obvious to you. How do you wake people up who you feel are still, as it were, slumbering?
It's our biggest job.
Yeah.
It's our hardest task, because political apathy, I spoke about this just yesterday, political apathy is one of our biggest dangers.
Yeah.
We have to wake people up. But I think what's happening is, since Labour have come into power, people are very quickly waking up for themselves. We don't need to necessarily be knocking on their doors and having hour conversations with people, because that only often leads to conflict and a difference of opinion anyway. We need people to come to their own conclusions in many respects. And I think since Keir Starmer's come into power, a lot of people that may have even voted for this man have stood back and gone, wow, I didn't realise that this was the wolf in sheep's clothing that he's turning out to be. So I think their eyes are being opened. However, I think it's through social media. And I said this to you before we actually came on camera. Look, I don't really get personally why people have gravitated to my channel and why my channel was built so quickly and so nicely. But I think it's maybe because I'm just such an ordinary person.
Yeah.
I'm just a regular ordinary guy. I have no ill wish or bad thoughts for anyone. I just want to see our country get back to where we once was, move forward happily and safely. And I think ordinary voices like mine, people that don't necessarily look the part or look like a politician or look like they're in it for themselves, just ordinary men from the street, working class people that are finally standing up and having the courage. And I would encourage anyone out there right now, if you're just an ordinary person, do it. Set up your own YouTube channel, speak out, don't be afraid.
Do you think as well that, I mean, obviously it seems to me there have been two instances over the past year, that's getting on for a year, where people have actually, scales have fallen from their eyes. First one being the whole Gaza demonstrations thing. That really shocked many people, this kind of outright anti-Semitism in the streets and also just the sheer, sort of boldness of the extremism, right? And the police's reaction to it. And then obviously the protests and then sort of riots or whatever that happened quite recently, that has really shocked people too. I mean, I'm a firm believer there is such a thing as two-tier policing. Would you say there is too?
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an opinion anymore. I think it's just an actual plain fact that's right in front of our very eyes. We can see it on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
As far as the pro-Palestine marches are concerned, I mean, look, I have friends from both communities, from the Jewish community, from the Muslim community. I think what has angered or upset the British public with the pro-Palestinian marchers is the fact that they feel so emboldened to come onto our streets, say some of the things that they say, do some of the things that they do. And they're being treated in an entirely different way to the other side. Now, I don't really get involved too much in Middle Eastern politics. My own personal beliefs are my own personal beliefs. What I do know is that wherever conflict is in the world, I don't want to see it on our streets. Mm-hmm. They're perfectly entitled to their thoughts and their views, and I wouldn't stop them from having those. It's a free society that we live in. But don't bring your problems to our streets, thank you very much. Now, I know that some will say, well, your governments and your previous governments are partly to blame for some of this. That may be, but it's not us. It's not the ordinary man and woman on the street that's trying to earn a living. It's not your black cab drivers that can no longer get down Oxford Street. It's not your local shopkeepers. Blame the government by all means, but don't take it out on us.
When you say that it was past governments, what do you mean in why?
Well, when we look at Tony Blair, for example, taking us into wars, running across half the Middle East, killing people, and getting us involved in wars, looking for weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. And then we look at the small boat issue. I mean, look, there's a side to this story where you could say, well, look, hold on a minute. We spent years in Afghanistan, and now we're moaning that people are coming from Afghanistan to here. From their viewpoint, I get that. We're not innocent in all of this necessarily. In my view, we should have kept out of the Middle East. We shouldn't have been in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Yes, although I would say to you that, I mean, first of all, you're talking a generation ago now? I mean, but I don't know. It's the fact, is it, that people are making their way here when in fact they could be claiming asylum.
Absolutely,
for example, in
100%, 100%. What I'm saying is that is the argument that they will offer us.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So look, I've never been a believer in getting involved unless it's really, really necessary. I.e. the Second World War. I've never believed in getting involved in other people's. I don't want to see British blood spilt for other causes. Personally, that's just my own view.
Yeah. I mean, what is your view generally on the immigration issue? It seems to me that this is at the root of just about all of the problems, and I'm sure people watching this now will be thinking, for goodness sake, of course it is. I mean, what do you think should happen there, actually? What would you like to see?
Immediately?
Well, yes.
Immediately, we have to stop the boats. I think we have to very quickly review all the current applications that are in and deal with them, preferably with the instant removal of the vast majority. Certainly the vast majority of the males that have come into the country. I think the women and children can be a different story.
Well, where are they?
Exactly, where are they?
Yeah.
Because I am very much a human being. I would not see a woman and child denied asylum or sanctuary if there was a real problem. But we need to stop the boats. We need to use the Royal Navy. We need to withdraw the help of Border Force and the RNLI, who I'm actually really upset with.
Yeah.
I mean, RNLI, I remember as a kid on holiday in Blackpool, and my dad putting a fiver in that RNLI box and telling me as a child, always support the RNLI. Yeah. Those days for me are gone. How can I help a taxi service bringing people over to our country who are, within very short periods of time, often committing offences, and sometimes very serious offences against our women?
Yeah.
I just can't support that anymore. So the RNLI, for me, Border Force, all that has to stop, and it has to stop quickly. And then we need to go back and review some of the cases that have come in over the last few years, however many years that might be, I don't know, but we need to start deporting the foreign criminals. Get them out. Send them home. Even if it means they haven't necessarily always served all of their sentence. If it's a non-serious crime, and we know what the serious crimes are, I won't use the words, but if it's anything less than that, just get rid. Send them back to where they came from. Let them be someone else's responsibility and take the burden away from our taxpayers.
I mean, this week, this has become a bit of an issue politically in the sense that Nigel Farage did an interview, didn't he? And said that it was a political impossibility to do this. I mean, were you surprised at that?
Very surprised, very shocked, actually quite baffled, because it's almost in stark contrast to some of the things he said before.
Yes. Since
Nigel was becoming MP, I hate to say it, he's sounding more and more like a politician.
Right.
And I think he needs to be very careful, because I think support for Nigel is on the brink. It's on the edge. I think he needs to understand very well and very clearly who his supporters are, where they come from. And if he forgets that, he will lose that support just as quickly as he gained it.
Do you think, I mean, it seems that a lot of people now are kind of faced with sort of going in different routes, as it were. So you've got reform, right? And you've featured reform people on your channel, haven't you? And you've got reform. So that's, if you like, the party political thing. Then you've got the kind of demonstrations or Tommy Robinson events, which I think you've been involved with too.
I've been there, yeah.
Yeah. And it's sort of, people are trying to weigh up, aren't they, which way to go?
Which way to go?
Because both of them have virtues, that there's nothing quite like being with a lot of people peacefully who want to demonstrate their pride and everything. That's wonderful. And that happened on the 26th of July?
26th, yeah. 27th, was it 27th? I think
and there's another one coming up in October,
There is, yeah.
But then on the other hand, which I think is something you alluded to as well, finally, you've actually kind of got to go this parliamentary route, right? You look at what happened recently with Labour. what is it? Is it about a third of the country voted for this government or something? A great deal of apathy. But, I mean, it's a question really, isn't it, of which way you go? I mean, you have you've been a reform man, haven't you, would you say?
Yeah. I think both, Peter. That's what it's all about for me. I think the time has come, and my message has been, the one thing that you have to give the left, you have to give them credit for being very good at what they do. They're united.
Yeah.
They stick together even when they don't necessarily agree with each other.
Yeah.
They'll stick together for their bigger cause, for their wider aims. And we need to learn from that. We need to learn very quickly. And my job is to be, or what I'm trying to be, is a bit of a go-between. I'm trying to meet and build bridges between everyone that believes in everything that's right for this country. And we don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to go out and have drinks together. We don't have to go out and eat together. We just have to be on the same side. We have to have red, white and blue in our hearts. That's what I spoke about earlier on.
Yeah.
And I know lots of people that don't agree with my political views necessarily, but they do have red, white and blue in their hearts. That will work for me.
Yeah.
And it needs to work for all of us. So we have to unite. Reform have to recognise that their core base made up 90% of the crowd in London on the 27th. Mm-hmm. We asked the crowd the question, who here voted reform? At least 95% of people held up their hands.
Right.
And then we have Nigel telling us that we're all knuckle-dragging thugs. Mm-hmm. It's not a good look. Mm-hmm. And we're never going to win the next election, whoever that may be, unless we unite, and that means everyone. So the aim for us right now with the pledge is to get as many people signing that pledge, making their pledge to their country and to our future as we possibly can. Because up until recently, or even right now, the tail has been wagging the dog. We're the dog. The people, we are the dog, okay? And the tail is the politicians. They've been wagging us. Yeah. We can turn that around. We can become the dog that wags the tail. But we can only do that with the sheer weight of numbers and power.
Yeah.
So if we get the right amount of signatures, if we get the right amount of members, and I think we will absolutely smash all expectations, certainly if the initial reaction is anything to go by, we will beat all of our own expectations. We can then go, we could be non-political. We can go to any party and say, well, look, we will have regions. We all know where all our supporters are. We all know what towns, what cities they're in, and we can go to any political party and say, well, look, if you want to win the next by-election, we can make that happen. We have the numbers.
Silly question maybe, but what are the chances with the Conservative Party, for example? I mean,
in its current guise, slim to none, I would say. Yeah. I mean, the Conservative Party is finished for me. I mean, I've grown up all my life being a Tory voter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all my life. Ever since I think the first time I ever voted Lib Dem when I was 18. And ever since then, I've voted for the Tories.
Yeah. So you were, we are, I think, the same age. So basically, you'd have been in your 20s when Thatcher was in power.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Maggie, yeah.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you from?
Originally, I'm from Fulham. Fulham, but I lived in South London since I was about 18 months old.
Whereabouts is South?
Sutton.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Croydon area.
All right. South. That's changed a lot, hasn't it?
Very much so.
I remember when we were kids, my mom used to take us to Croydon because it was kind of like this future city.
Yeah.
It had all these skyscrapers, well, what we would consider skyscrapers. And, but it was like it had a posh kind of shopping mall, I think, at the time, even then.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's a byword for everything that's gone wrong with urban life, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to say that there is absolutely not a chance that I would visit Croydon without a very, very serious need to go there.
Yeah.
Because the entire area has just been let down. It's just unrecognisable.
I mean, London generally, I made a programme about why I'd left London It's 3 years ago. I work here, and we're sitting here now, but actually for living. And it's really, it really just hits you, doesn't it? I mean, basically you spent pretty much all of your life in a place, and then sort of, basically, suddenly you think, actually, not wanted on journey anymore, if you know what I mean.
We've been replaced, haven't we? In many respects, we've been replaced. And this is the difficulty. This is the difficulty for people like myself when we speak, because the last thing that we ever want to do is come over as being in any way remotely racist in any shape or form whatsoever. But we are being replaced. And it's not the colour of the person's skin that's replacing us that matters. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. People's skin colour is not important. It's what's in their heart. But we're being replaced with different cultures that are not compatible with ours in many respects. And as a grandfather, that is my biggest concern. What does the future hold for my grandchildren? And it's not good. It doesn't look like a safe one. I am currently in the process of getting them out of this country.
Really?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I feel that it's no longer a need, it's a must. I must get my beautiful grandchildren out of this country, at the very least, until this Labour government is out of the way.
That's interesting. So basically, you're talking about your whole family moving, presumably.
Yeah.
I hear the same conversation, from people. Increasingly, though, actually, what a lot of people feel is, where would they go? When we were sort of growing up, it was always America. However bad things got, you thought, well, there's always
America. Yeah.
I don't feel that anymore about America particularly, and I'm just sort of wondering, people talk increasingly about Eastern Europe, where they could go there, but let's face it, there are, Canada, Australia, all these places are suffering from the same things we are.
The woke virus.
Yes, the woke virus, and indeed demographic change and this kind of massive collapse in confidence in what they are, I'd see it seemed to me. So you weren't political really at all before?
Not really.
Not really. You voted Tory.
Yeah.
You weren't.
I'd always vote, because I think if you don't vote, you can't moan.
Yeah.
And I think it's annoying when you hear people moaning and say, "Oh, who did you vote for?" "Oh, I don't vote." I get, these days I get it, because the last election. But I've always been a Tory voter because I've been in business mostly.
Yeah.
But I've never really been a political person. It's never been the first thing on my mind when I wake up in the morning. Far from it. But as the country has basically just gone downhill over year, I've watched it. Year after year after year, I've watched us being replaced. And our rights our rights to free speech, the ability to even tell a joke. I watched it slowly but surely disappearing. And I thought, if I don't do this now at my age, I'm going to die a lie. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a person that had something to say, that felt he had a role to play, and not try and at least fulfill it. If I try and I fail, at least I tried. But I couldn't not do anything. It had to be done. Has it been costly? To a large degree, yeah. But I mean, look, I'm happier now because I'm out. I tell the truth.
Yes.
I tell it as it is. I feel freer. It's made me a lot of friends. It's brought me some enemies. It's brought me some problems. But I'm happy to live with that, because I look back at what our grandfathers and our forefathers gave for this country, my own included. If they were showing that bravery, 16, 17, 18 years of age, giving their lives and their limbs, if we can't stand up and at least speak out, what does that say about us as men?
No, I completely understand. I wonder, we were talking about how would people wake up, or, sorry, I don't mean to disparage people, but you know what I mean. We've got to get a lot of people to wake up, what it would quite take, for that to happen. Because you sort of look and you sort of think, over the past 10, 15, 20 years, and some terrible things have happened, for example, Manchester bombing, and you think, well, Rotherham, and you just think, surely that's going to make people wake up, surely, where are the people on the streets about that, and in fact, there was relatively little, but I suppose that it's the strength of now that the fear of God has been put into people. Yeah. Basically, you might lose everything. You're going to be called a racist. You're going to be called this, that, and the other thing. And you might well lose your livelihood. All these things which were just, as you say, unthinkable. Well, I suppose, until about 20 years ago?
Yeah, I'd say 20 years, yeah. I think, let's be clear on this, right? Okay, before, we say that people aren't awake, and I agree to a large degree, but I think the bottom line is that most people are aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
They might not think about it as much as we do, but they know.
Yeah.
They've seen it. They're not stupid. However, we are an I'm all right, Jack country. Mm-hmm. If Mr. and Mrs. Smith at number 5 can shut their door at 8 o'clock in the evening, go to work the next day without too many problems, they don't really want to get involved in anyone else's problems. Mm. We are not a nation that sticks together, holding each other's hand, side by side. We're not even like the Irish. I mean, the Irish will stick together a lot more than the English. Mm. And I won't say the British, because the Scots are capable of sticking together.
Yes.
So the Welsh, it seems to be an English problem for me.
Well, don't you think that's as well? Because, those other areas, their nationalism has been considered the right kind of nationalism.
We have the Welsh nationalists, we have the Scottish nationalists. Yeah. But if you call yourself an English nationalist, wow.
That's it.
See how you get on with that one.
Yes, exactly. You're virtually a Nazi.
Yeah.
You could call yourself English, would you?
I would, yeah.
Yes, I now do. It's funny, my parents, we always called ourselves British, and until it was around about again, it all comes down to the Blair government, and around that time, they sort of suddenly started calling themselves English war, and it wasn't even a conscious thing.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
I would say up until I was I'm 63 now, I would say that up until I was about 55, I always considered myself as British first.
Yeah.
But since my mid-50s, I think I've slowly but surely evolved into just being, or being English first and British second.
Yeah. Well, I think that's increasing, definitely.
Yeah.
English identity has increased. Will you be speaking in October at the event? Will you be on the stage? Or?
I was at the last one, but I've made the conscious decision that, look, you know what it's like. If you are associated with any one group in particular too much, you will be tarred with that brush.
So in this case, what, Tommy Robinson?
Yeah.
Communion?
And look, I'm very much, I'll be clear, I support Tommy.
Yeah.
I very much support his word. I think he's one of the country's most unfairly maligned individuals, probably the most maligned individual in our history.
Actually, can I ask you, there is this particular program that is attaches to Tommy Robinson. Why would you think that is? Because, why particularly him?
Because he is, let's get this clear, Tommy's message is the most difficult of all. He tells the truth. He says the things that people don't want to hear. And that invokes fear. And the problem that we have in this country, Peter, is fear. Whilst we do have a two-tier policing system, there's no doubt about that, it all boils down to fear. The police, the government, the authorities, the powers that be, whoever it is we're talking about, they're worried, they're concerned, they're frightened of a particular explosion, of a particular section of our society. It's a very small section by comparison to the population, but the peaceful majority are actually irrelevant. It's the dangerous minority that are the problem. And I think the government fear those people very much, because they fear their unity, they fear their power, and they fear their determination to succeed. And until the government, the authorities, and everyone else concerned can man up and own that problem and deal with that issue openly, transparently, we're never going to get a resolution to our problem. And that's why they hate Tommy so much, because he is telling them exactly what they don't want to hear. They know it's true, but they don't want to hear it, and they certainly don't want the public to hear it and to understand it.
I think, if you think of, for example, well, we mentioned the Gaza demonstrations, and indeed these recent civil disturbances around the Southport thing. It does seem that actually, I think it's just undeniable that in the first case, a lot was allowed simply so that people wouldn't kick off.
Yeah, exactly.
You're talking about like Muslims wouldn't kick off,
Yeah.
basically. It's called, what we're talking about here. And in the case as well with Southport, again, similar thing. These people still not having been charged, still walking around. And yet the extraordinary, kind of draconian sentences that were put on people who, okay, maybe they did stupid things. They did stupid things and you shouldn't throw bricks. We all know that. And that's wrong and everything. But it was so clear, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, again, let's be clear about this. There are some people in jail right now that deserve to be there.
Yeah.
If you're setting fire to buildings, you deserve to go to jail. If you're throwing bricks at and injuring police officers, there's a good chance that you're going to end up behind bars. And I haven't got a great deal of sympathy for those people, if any. But when we look at the types of crimes that people eventually were sent to prison for, that's tyranny. That really is tyranny. And it's very, very frightening. And we go back to the fear.
Yeah.
I think many people are awake. They do see the problems. They do understand it, but they don't really want to know. They're putting their ears in their fingers and humming because they know what the problem that's out there, but they're even more frightened now than ever because Keir Starmer has come along and said, you better be frightened.
Yes, yeah.
Because if you don't toe the line, you're going to jail. I think all of us YouTubers had 24, 48 hours of going through our videos and thinking, bloody hell, what have I said?
Yeah.
What have I said that they could come to me for? That is very, very frightening. Very concerning.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's always at the back of one's mind. This is definitely these. Well, look, Paul, by the way, we have a little one or two questions for our members. Exclusive content, all of that. If you wouldn't mind hanging around.
Absolutely.
But before we do that, first of all, can you direct people where they should go if they want to sign the pledge?
Yeah.
Where should they go?
It is www.thepledge.org.uk.
Thepledge.org.uk. And of course, on your YouTube channel, it's just Paul Thorpe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Paul Thorpe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, Paul, thank you very, very much
An
indeed
absolute
for
pleasure
coming.
and an honour. Thank you very much.
Well, it's lovely to meet you, and so stay with us because we've got a question. But in the meantime, thank you very much, Paul Thorpe. We shall see you next week, and in the meantime, have a lovely week with you. And also remember that there are various local events coming up. Just to look on the website, and you'll see all the dates. Okay. See you next time. Hello. If you're enjoying the New Culture Forum channel and you believe in our mission, may I invite you to join our membership scheme at the link below or on our website, newcultureforum.org.uk. Our work is more important now than ever, and we have great plans ahead for the future, but we can't do it without your support. From as little as £3 per month, you can help ensure that we continue on our mission. As a member, you'll receive a range of benefits, including access to exclusive content, invitations to our private events, including here at our studios, free copies of our books, and much, much more, including, of course, our famous NCF mug. If you aren't able to become a member, then please help us by clicking this button and subscribing to our channel. It's completely free. Just remember to also click the bell icon so that you can get notifications when we post new videos. Thank you.